Hey there, it's Jessie here, and big fat warm welcome to this. Pardon me. Thank you for being here. Thank you for clicking. If you're coming back, hi, you know that I love you. Thank you so much for supporting me this whole time. If you're completely new, maybe there's a reason. I've come into your orbit. Maybe not. Only you can decide. Remember, folks, we decide individually what we need and what's best. We must stay in our center and be clear about who we are and what we want, make decisions from there. We must also say no to what's not working for us. How are you doing today? I had a very interesting day yesterday. So my mum's moved house and I'm up in the loft going through my stuff and sort of sorting through what I don't need anymore. And my mum, bless her heart, has kept a lot of my stuff from childhood, like drawings, poems, stories that I wrote. So I've been going through all that yesterday, and honestly, it's moved a lot of the deep waters within me and definitely given me a new lens to look back at my childhood on. And it's really a lens of gratitude. And I've met my inner child in a whole new light, looking through what she used to write about and contemplate. What a sweetheart. I was a very happy child. And, you know, I've been doing healing, and the purpose of healing is because I want ultimate freedom for myself. So I don't want to be limited by beliefs that are holding me back. And that is what healing is for me, is going back to where these beliefs were formed and rewriting the memory, reframing it, and letting out any emotion that I wasn't able or didn't feel safe to let out in that moment. So in part of this sort of breaking free, we're breaking free. We're soaring, flying. There's not a soul in heaven that you can't reach. High School Musical? Also from childhood. Anyway, in this process of like breaking free, I had to look at the difficult, uncomfortable parts of my childhood. And it was a necessary process, okay? My body's giving me a no. For me, I'll just say that. For me, it was a necessary process. But I think what I did in that process is sort of forget to balance it with all the good stuff that was happening. So much beauty, so much joy, so much light. And my teacher said something like this the other day. She was talking about when we're doing ancestral healing, there can be this focus on, you know, traumas of our ancestors and behaviors, and they adopted to survive, and then were passed on, and maybe they're not so relevant to us now, but we still hold them. You know, a lot of fear-based behaviors come from this, and we don't even know that it's ancestral. So in doing this work, you kind of look back and you're like, oh, blimey, I've got to sift through all this stuff that's so unnecessary. Necessary at the time, though. So we inherit a lot of limitation and fear, right? And she reminded us also, and I can see how it's easy to overlook, but she reminded us to also consider the wisdom that has been passed on. And it's easy to overlook this because it comes second nature to us. And I think, like, throughout my life, I have realized and spoken to friends about this, the best way to recognize what's easy for us is if a friend or a colleague or your neighbor or somebody in your life is going through something messy and difficult, and we're over there going, like, in our heads, maybe we say it to them, depends on your personality, but we're like, that's obvious. Isn't that easy? Like, why would you behave in that way? Now, if something is that obvious to us, first of all, much easier on being on the outside looking in, isn't it? But if something's so inherently obvious to us and we can remember, we can recognize in this lifetime, we haven't even had to experience that lesson. We've just been able to avoid it because we know that, my friend, is possibly, because we never really know, ancestral wisdom passed down. And thank you for those that came before us and went through that experience and sort of transmuted it and came out the other side with a little nugget of wisdom rather than a fear and therefore repeating. Because I really do feel that's what nature is doing through us with patterns. It's just like, okay, let's have another opportunity to find the nugget of wisdom. And we choose whether we do or not. We choose whether we choose love or fear. And so let's take a moment to consider that which comes easy and naturally to us. And thank those that came before us who passed that on. And not to bypass the other stuff, it's just that balance of like, thank you for this, and I will take care of this. I'm going to share the end of a story. My child was amazing, because I'm full of fantasy, right? And living in other realms and all of that. I'm also quite literal. So in a lot of my stories that I wrote, I used the names of the people in my life. I wrote a story about Clifford the dragon. I wrote a story about the baby called after my best friend in childhood. So it's very funny looking back. I'm like, thank you, Jessie, for making it easy for me. No code words here. Anyway, so funny and fascinating seeing, like, I wrote a poem called Who Am I? Which is just a bunch of questions. Why are we here? What are we made of? All of that. All right, so this was the last line of a story. To demonstrate, I think, some of ancestral wisdom, or maybe it's past lives or future lives. Who knows? Next year, I was looking at my mum's makeup and it was all over the floor. And Granny's makeup was all over the floor. I was really upset. But then a few years later, I just got on with my life. I will never forget those days, though, when it was hard for me. Oh, so beautiful, huh? I mean, wow. I must have been about 7, maybe 8 when I wrote this. So my mum's makeup was all over the floor. My granny's makeup was all over the floor. What is makeup? It's the mask we wear. Or maybe it's symbolizing femininity, the feminine role models that I had. And I come home and my mum's makeup's all over the floor, my granny's makeup's all over the floor. I wonder if this was my little child looking up at the masks of femininity that were being modeled for me and seeing them all over the floor. Ouch, painful for my little child. Bless her little heart. I was really upset, crushed. But then a few years later, I just got on with my life. You know what? And this is true for a lot of things. I sort of tend to hone in on things and make the little molehill a mountain because I'm so small. And then a few years later, you just get on with your life. So beautiful. And also that she acknowledges, I will never forget those days, though, when it was hard for me. 8. I hadn't lived long enough to have that kind of understanding. 8. And I was already aware that time will pass and I will overcome it, but I will not bypass or forget. I won't forget the pain. And I don't think we should forget pain. I think we need to remember it so then we don't get stuck in that loop, that patterning. My child was so sweet, guys. Such a happy child. And looking back on it, because of the healing and that, like, you know, this breaking free, where I needed to go back to the sort of sticky, hard, heavy moments, but seeing so much joy as well. So since you're still here, I invite you to take an opportunity to consider what wisdom you embody, what was passed down from those that came before you, that really serves you to the point where you don't even notice it. And we just be grateful for that. Alrighty, thank you very much for watching. Please feel free to share down below what's inherent to you, because maybe it will help us learn. Otherwise, like the video if you liked it. Hit subscribe if you're new and you like this kind of content. And I'll see you in the next video. Otherwise, have a beautiful day and a beautiful life. We got this.